Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I'm going to be opening up and telling y'all my experiences growing up without a dad and how it affected me. I really wanted to come on here and do this video because I just feel like there's other girls out here who can relate to me, who are either going through what I went through or who went through what I went through. And I just want to share my experience, basically. So I'm going to break this video down into 3 categories. First category is going to be growing up without a dad. Second category is going to be looking for love without a dad. And then third category is going to be how I overcame. I was born in Ohio and I lived there till I was 6 years old. And my dad was from Michigan. He used to always visit me in Ohio or take me to Michigan to visit him. I remember a lot of times like traveling back and forth to Michigan to see my dad and like that side of the family. I really didn't know who my dad was before I moved to Texas. Growing up, I felt like my dad was just someone I knew. Like I just felt like he was like another family member. I remember he used to tell me, call him dad, call me dad. And I just remember just me having to call him dad because that's who he said his name was. He said his name was Dad, so I was okay. That's, I guess, what I called this person. I didn't register dad being my disciplinary, dad being my provider, dad being my caretaker. I didn't register him as that. I just registered him in my head as he wants me to call him dad, and that's what I call him. And I have to visit him every so often, and I don't like when I have to go visit him. I remember one time going to visit him. I was leaving from my grandma's house, and she was telling me, hey, you know, you're about to go visit your dad, get your stuff together. I made you a little boiled egg, you know, get your food, go get in the car, he's waiting outside. And I remember just crying, like, no, I don't want to go. Don't make me go with him. Like, I don't want to go. And I remember the feeling of like, why is she making me go? Like, why are they making me go see him? I just said I don't want to go. Why do I have to go? I remember I was crying and I got in the car with him and he was like, why are you crying? Like, I was trying to eat my food. I had a boiled egg. And I was like, I didn't want to go with you as I wanted to stay here. And I guess he got mad because I didn't want to go. And he smushed my boiled egg in my face. Like, he pushed it in my face and was like, I guess you have no choice. I'm your dad. You're coming to visit me. And I remember smelling like a boiled egg for a 3-hour drive. And I remember just feeling like I don't like him. Like, I was a kid, so I didn't know how to register I don't like him. I just knew that was the feeling. I felt like I don't like this person. I felt like I don't want to see this person. And I didn't understand what the term dad was. I just felt like it was a name you call people. So one day my mom came up to me and my brother and she was like, we're moving to Texas. So I was 7 years old when I moved to Texas. Once we moved, I stopped hearing from my dad. I didn't hear from him for it was about maybe 2 or 3 years because I was about 9. And I remember just constantly always talking to my mom about, where's my dad? Why doesn't he call me? Why doesn't he try to see me anymore? For me to be raised and for 6 years, I'm seeing you every month or every weekend. Like, I knew of you. Like, I know who you are. Like, you know? So for me not to see him, it was just kind of like, what's up? It felt like I got dumped. Like, it felt like just because I moved, you don't want to talk to me no more. It was just really confusing. I just didn't understand it. And that's really the main gist of my relation with my dad. It was just very confusing and it didn't make sense to me. I think maybe I remember talking to him maybe one time we got in touch with him and it was a pretty bland conversation. After that conversation, I asked my mom, like, you know, what's up? Like, what's going on with my dad? Like, why does he not reach out to me? Why do I have to search for him when I'm the kid? She just kind of explained to me in a roundabout way that, you know, some people don't want to take care of the responsibility. And I kind of understood what she was saying. I remember coming home from school, and I used to always watch Mari. And I remember I was watching Mari, and one episode, it was women on there looking for their dads. Like, they were like in their 30s. And they're like, my dad was never in my life, and I'm in search of my father, and he is my father. And they will always be crying, and they would just be looking so hurt and just looking like they just wanted love from their dad. And I was about 9 or 10 watching that. And for some reason, I just like made a vow to myself. I just felt like I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be in my 30s still searching for my dad, still trying to get him to talk to me, and still hurt. So from then on out, I pretty much became numb to the thought of my dad. I became numb to like just even caring about it or even worrying about it. I just no longer cared. I was like, I'm not gonna be sad about this my whole life. Even like as young as I was, I just was like, I don't want to be sad about this. So then as I got older, now looking for love without a dad, looking back on it, because in the moment I didn't know this, but looking back, I really didn't know what a good candidate was. What I think I missed from not having a dad was an example of standard. Like, I feel like if I would have had a dad, he would have been the standard for what I would want from a man. It would just be a bare minimum. This is the requirement. And since I didn't have that, I felt like I didn't know what a good candidate, what a good guy looked like. I remember the first guy I pretty much fell for. I remember he never made time for me. He didn't want to commit and be my boyfriend. I remember he basically just wanted to talk to me at his own discretion. And that's kind of how I felt like my dad was. I felt like I was never a priority. I felt like I was never important to him. And I feel like I attracted a lot of guys like that. In my journey of looking for love without a dad, I basically talked to anybody just to see how it goes, just to try it out. I feel like because I didn't have that example and the standards set in front of me, my dating process was a trial and error experience. I would talk to people who were not up to par to what I should have been dating. And it was just for the sole purpose of I didn't know what I should be looking for. So let me just talk to A, B, and C, see how it goes. That process did work for me. It was an experience. It was a lot of heartbreak, a lot of times being sad, a lot of times being confused, a lot of times feeling unwanted. I remember going through breakups. I felt like it was the end of the world. It could be me talking to a guy for 3 months. And if we would stop talking, it would just feel like the end of the world. I would just feel like this person didn't want me. What's wrong with me? This person gave up on me. This person didn't fight for me. They don't care. They didn't try. How can you say you love someone and you just quit? And that's a lot of feelings I felt with my dad. And that's all I would think. Like, I felt like this person just quit. Like, for me to go from actually knowing my dad and visiting him, and then for him just to quit and I just no longer see him anymore, that's how it felt. It felt like a breakup. It just felt like, how can you stop what you were doing? But to say how I overcame growing up without a dad, it took until I was about 15, and I went to Ohio to visit my family for the summer. My mom arranged for me and my dad to meet up again. Now, I haven't spoken with him since I was like 9. So now I'm 15. I was well mature. I had my questions ready. And it was a few things I wanted to know as to where he was. So I met up with my dad. We went out to dinner and I asked him a few questions. I hadn't seen him in years, so he looked different. Of course, I looked different. Last time he physically seen me, I was 6 years old, and then he seen me when I was 15. So I was no longer a kid. I was a teenager with an opinion. So the main question I asked him was, why did you stop talking to me? Because he said he never had any kids and he didn't know how to raise a kid. And I was like, okay. As if any parent knows how to raise a kid before they have one. So I was like, okay, that makes no sense at all. But if that's the answer you want to go with, then I'll accept that. I just registered him as a person who doesn't accept and take accountability for their responsibilities, and I just didn't have good views of him in my head after that conversation. I really decided, I just learned people are humans and humans are not perfect. Even though him not being in my life affected me, it used to hurt me and all types of things like that, it also made me who I am today. And that's, at the end of the day, all like you can be appreciative of. You can either let a situation break you or you can let a situation make you a better person. That's how you do it. Like, you accept, you forgive that person, you know, for their wrongdoing because they do not know better. You accept it, that this is what it is, and then you move on. You learn how to cope. You learn how to learn things on your own. You learn what type of men to date. You learn what to accept. You just learn all this stuff. You teach yourself. And that's really what I've done in my whole life. Like, when it comes to dating boys and men and all of that, you just have to learn that you didn't have an example in front of you. So you have to create your own example and create your own ideal of what you want your man to be. And then you go from there. And yeah, that's basically how I overcame it. I just made a decision not to let it hurt me anymore, to just accept it and to not let it affect me and not let it, you know, not live my life sad and grumpy and hurt because I don't have a dad. You learn to not be sad about what you don't have, but to appreciate what you do have. And I had a mom who did above and beyond of what she could do. So I stopped looking at it like, oh, I don't have a dad, I don't have a dad. And I just started looking like, man, I have a great mom. I have a strong mom. Like, this lady does a lot. And that's just more so how you just accept it and you learn, like, you know what? I'm grateful for this person right here who didn't give up on me and who didn't give up on their responsibilities and who didn't quit and who does love me and who does care about me. And that right there is the main thing that helped me overcome not having a dad. I just don't want anyone to make it more than what it is. Meaning, yes, it is a big deal, but it's not when you think about your entire life. When you think about the longevity of your life, this person does not deserve for you to be hurt and to move like you're hurt when you have the rest of your life. You should choose to be happy and choose to love regardless and move on. And that will be a more prosperous, happier life than to stay hurt in a situation. So basically, y'all, that is my rant. That is my clearing of the chest for today. I hope this helps somebody, someone out there who is dealing with a sadness and pain of not having a dad in their life. I just want to thank y'all so much for coming back and listening to me talk yet again. Tell me y'all's experience and let me know what y'all think about this. Go ahead, leave a comment, and I'll see y'all on my next video. Peace.